G'day guys, just about to download the video or upload the video. I'll look normally now. I went bug-eyed for a second, but I'll go normal now. So here we go, normal. Enough of the bug-eye. But please watch this video right through to the end with Luke Parsons and his bonsai pots and his interview, because he had a lot of great information and it was a really cool interview. So watch every minute of it. If you skip, you're missing out. Let's get to the video. Cheers. Okay, so I'm going to probably hold this and talk the whole time because I'm going to lose where I am otherwise. Alright, so we'll do the intro and then I'll ask you a few questions. G'day, Aussie bonsai bloke, get going. Today we've got a very special guest, Luke Parsons.
Hello,
how you
everybody.
going? Luke is, I'm just going to read off this paper because I didn't want to stuff it up and he's a special guest, so we're going to read off the paper. So Luke is a well-known bonsai potter in Australia and starting to become well-known in the world. Just recently won first prize in the National Arboretum pot competition, so it's pretty cool. Getting well-known.
Very lucky.
As you can see, I wrote on here, you know, I'm not going to pretend that I know all the questions and fluff around, so they're all on here. So, oh yeah, I had to apologise to Luke because we've got some ribeye smoking next to us, so we got to smell that. It smells beautiful.
It does smell good.
Even though we had lunch, it still makes you hungry. Okay, so I guess first, Luke, how did you get into bonsai?
Well, I started bonsai a long time ago, so long ago that I still had hair. 25, 26 years ago. I was about 20 at the time. I think I was just lucky that we had a bonsai nursery nearby. Yeah, so that got me started. And then I quickly realised, well, bonsai are trees in pots, so I better start making pots as well. So I've been doing that, yeah, for about as long as I've been doing bonsai, but just professionally, you know, actually selling these pots, mainly the last sort of 5 or 6 years, it's really, yeah, really become something.
Really taken off. And they're awesome pots too.
Thank you.
So, I guess now you've answered that one. I was going to ask you, when did you start doing pots, but we sort of picked that one up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Oh, maybe recap on that. When did we?
Doing the two side by side, really.
Yep.
Yeah.
I lost where I am already. I was going to tick it off as I go, otherwise I'll get lost.
Oh, I'll have a drink.
Have a drink. Okay, so pots pretty much same time. Okay, so that was the next question. Okay, so now I know where I am. So your pots are very unique individual. They have a certain style and look to them, to a point they could be pointed out on a lineup anytime. So how did you develop your style, Luke?
Well, it's happened fairly organically. I think I've started, you know, trying to make pots that just look like everybody else's pots, you know, looking like commercial bonsai pots like you find at a bonsai nursery. But yeah, like, you know, I don't feel like I could have done that forever. It starts to get boring, I suppose, and you start experimenting, and some of the experiments work and some don't. And, you know, you just keep channeling, you know, trying to find those experiments that work for you and that I like the look of. And so I think I've sort of got to the point now where I don't feel like I'm copying what anybody else is doing. I finally sort of found my own style. So, you know, the glazes that are on these pots that I've developed,
Yep.
and, you know, the texture that, you know, are in the pots sort of either side of us here. Yeah, something that I've just made through trial and error.
Very unique,
And
you know.
hopefully I've now weeded out all of the errors. And just making good pots, that, you know, the work that I want to do.
Well, I can assure you guys, these pots are just bloody awesome, made by Luke, so that's pretty good. Yeah, I guess it keeps you interested too, you know, if you're doing something that you really like rather than just copying what other people are doing. So your pots have a really rugged earthy Australian landscape feel. Was that the initial intention? I guess you sort of answered that a little bit.
I don't know if it was, you know, how much of the Australian landscape and trees have influenced the pots, but I think that must be the case now, because what I tend to do when I'm designing a pot for a tree is have a look at the colours that are in the trees, you know, the colour and texture that's in the tree, and try and have some of that in the pot.
Yep.
So, you know, when you have a look at the texture that's in this callistemon here and the texture that's in the wall of the pot, there's some similarities there, and the colour of the clay and the bark as well. So I'm looking at the trees that are, you know, the ones that we have here. You know, and of course we make bonsai from lots of different trees. They're not just all Australian natives. Lots of different exotics as well. But yeah, I think perhaps as more people are using more Aussie natives as bonsai, perhaps that influences more of my thinking too. Yeah, so that we've got those colours and textures that are in the Australian trees reflected in the pots as well. Yeah, I mean, it certainly does seem to reflect in the pots. They just, I don't know, they just really suit the Australian natives. I keep my hands off it. Yeah. Do I have to leave this here? Yeah, I think you do. I can't take it home again. Okay, so your clay body is super rough, you know, with a lot of grog, feels like sandpaper. Did you decide that on purpose, or? So that's a manufactured clay body that comes from Walker Ceramics in Melbourne. It's BRT, Buff Raku Trachyte, that clay is called. And I like it because I like the way you can work with it. It's quite, it's easy to hand build with. And because all my pots are hand built, I don't use a potter's wheel or moulds or anything. Everything's hand built. And it's a really good clay for hand building. And yeah, the speckled, you know, fairly rough speckled finish in there. Yeah, it does feel like part of Australia. You know, it doesn't feel like it's sort of some pale porcelain white colour. Yeah, some smooth porcelain type clay, which I don't think like. And every pot looks the same. I don't know that you could use a clay like porcelain for an Australian bonsai pot and make it look authentically Australian, but yeah, so that clay body I think helps, with the it really does with the rugged Australian feel. So do you think our clay is unique compared to the rest of the world that you're using here? And I think there'd be other clay bodies overseas that would be similar. Yep. Yeah, I tend to only use those. I mean, some of the harsh environments in America would probably be well suited too, wouldn't it? Yeah, true. Yeah, there's. I hadn't really thought about that. You know, where else you might use a style of pot like that? Maybe a potential sales place. Oh yes, that's right. Yeah, all the online bonsai pot stores in everywhere in the world. Yes, I'm sure they'll all be knocking on my door any second. Yeah, any second. Oh, they're there. Okay, so Luke, I really love your pots. They're so well done, really Australian feel. You have such an earthy glaze. What led up to you coming up with the glazes on your pots, which create like a signature pot that we can tell is your pot? I really like developing glazes that have a lot of variation in them. So when you have a look at a commercial bonsai pot, they often have a glaze that is just all the one same flat colour. Just mono colour. Yeah, it's sort of, and they're made to be consistent, you know, so that you can spray them onto 1,000 pots at a time and everyone looks the same, you know, because they need, you know, if you're selling 1,000 things at a time, you need them to all be consistent. So any glazes that have variation are sort of frowned upon. Whereas when I'm developing glazes, which is a glaze is basically a whole lot of minerals all mixed together, mixed up with water into a liquid, put onto the pot and fired, and it forms this glassy surface. And when I'm doing that, I do lots of different tests, and the glazes that come out looking you know, that aren't consistent, you know, they've got some odd variation, are the ones that I develop further. So the glaze that's on this pot, although it looks like it might have at least a couple of different glazes, because there's a brown colour and a sort of mustardy colour and bits of sort of olive green colour in there too. That's actually just all one glaze. Where the glaze is on thinner, it's brown, and then where it's progressively thicker, it's the different colour, olive and mustard colour in there. And so, yeah, the way I put the glaze on is sort of deliberately uneven. If I'm brushing glaze on, I'll deliberately put it a bit, thinner and thicker in spots so that it actually has all that variation in there.
All the interest.
So I really like glazes, and I like developing glazes that have that variation, lots of different colours within the one glaze.
With your firing methods, do you get variations in pots during your firing, or are they quite predictable?
There's a degree of predictability, but not every pot does exactly what I'm expecting, and sometimes you have to accept that firing and glazes don't do the same thing every time, and I think if you have too many sort of preconceived ideas about what something should look like, then you'd be disappointed. But I think I've learnt now to open that kiln door, have a look in there, and sort of take my time thinking, well, I thought it was going to be a bit browner, but it's actually come out a bit greener. But so I'll just stand back and think, well, is that good? And often it's if there is a pot that has done something a bit unpredictable, and I think, oh no, that's no good. But then I show it to someone else. Here you go, Sam, have a look at this. And you say, oh my God, that's fantastic. It's the best pot I've ever seen. And I think, well...
Sold.
Oh, right.
Okay. So cool. So some of the ones that you think come out not quite right, quite often... there'd always be a pot out there for someone, wouldn't there?
Yeah, and often the pots that I'm perhaps disappointed in myself. I think I'm my own worst enemy, my own worst critic. Where I'm striving for something, and maybe it hasn't come out quite how I envisaged it. But you take a photo and show the world, and everybody says, "Yeah, that's great. I want one." So, okay.
No, I can tell you're doing really well, and that'll actually lead us up nicely to the next one. So, Luke, how does it feel now to be recognised in Australia after all your hard work? And, even heard your name on podcasts in the world. Must have been a proud and emotional moment when you won first prize, National Arboretum.
Yeah, I was pretty chuffed with that. It's only, I think, 3 years ago when I first entered that national competition, and didn't expect to get anything out of it, and I got third place. And I was really chuffed with that because there were other potters there who I really admired. Guys like Pat Kennedy that have been, making bonsai pots forever, making it for far longer than I have, and doing a great job. And I was pretty chuffed just to sort of be up on the same podium next to these other people that have been doing it forever. So I was happy enough with that. And to have won the first prize in the last competition, well, I just about fell off my chair, I think. So.
No, well done. Beautiful pot. I'll put a picture of that pot up too, by the way, maybe at the end of the video. But yeah, beautiful pot. Absolutely beautiful. Most people have probably already seen it on Luke's website, but beautiful, beautiful pot.
Thank you.
Super well done. And you're getting recognised for all your hard work. It's good, really good. Here's time for some dark questions. So in that respect, I'll have a dark ale, a stout. We're going dark now.
Look out.
Okay, dark questions, but probably a little bit more lighter questions. What do you like more, bonsai or pottery?
Oh, hell's bells.
We get dark.
Ooh. Well, I suppose I started both at about the same time. And, I've always needed some sort of creative outlet. I think if I didn't have either of those things, I'd be, painting or doing something else creative. So I've got to have some sort of creative outlet. Gosh.
Too hard to choose? You don't have to choose.
I like them both for different reasons. I think with bonsai, you can't stop and start with bonsai. They're living things. They're going to be looked after and watered every day. It's like looking after.
You can't have a week
kids.
off.
You can't. No, that's right. There's no holiday. There is no bonsai holiday. So Yeah, that is hard work sometimes. You know, in the middle of summer when you're standing out there baking and you're watering. Oh my God, can I be bothered doing
You
this?
just want to go and sit inside.
Yeah, have a beer.
Have a beer. Yeah.
So, yeah, pottery is probably a bit easier in that respect, but then pottery is quite the commitment too. It's a bit sort of all or nothing. You can't, you know, if you don't have a decent studio and decent kilns and a proper setup, you know, it's just too hard to do this. You know, I started doing this just from my spare room, and it, you know,
Escalated.
it's just too tricky trying to do that. So yeah, so we've now got, you know, a purpose-built studio and kilns, and it's all set up, and yeah, so I don't know. Both of those things are really a commitment. Really.
Both are, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think I can choose.
No.
They're just both a commitment.
And I expected that answer fully. I didn't expect to choose. What is your favourite species for bonsai?
Oh, lately I think desert ash. Yeah, Fraxinus angustifolia. I really like desert ash. Yeah, the winter image, because you know, being deciduous is fantastic. All the really old crackly bark that
beautiful.
old desert ash get, and they've been pretty well available in South Australia in the past because they're a pest species. We used to be able to get out and dig them up as easily as you could olives. The council's done a pretty good job of eradicating.
You don't see them around
ash.
as much, do you?
They're not around as much now. So yeah, I really love ash. I think being in South Australia, if you didn't have an olive or two,
I know all about that.
there's something wrong with you. So yeah, you can't ignore olives. They're great material. So maybe I'll say all the weeds. Ash.
You like the
olive.
weed trees?
Yeah, I like the weeds.
Yeah, good answer. Okay, now to get really dark, what is your most hated species?
Oh, the ones that don't grow well at my place.
Don't want to fight them.
Yeah, I don't need the battle. I suppose that's the thing with ash and olive. You know, it's easy.
Yeah, there's no battle.
Yeah, there's no battle. I'm not growing anything that is just too hard. So, you know, Japanese maples at my place, you get one hot wind and the leaves will burn, and that's the end of it. And so that they don't grow well at my place. So I don't have any Japanese maples anymore. I think I've weeded out all of the things that are just too much like hard work.
Yeah, I got some jades over here, and they're my most hated species because a frost burns off all the leaves, and I don't know, they're my most hated. But I've got some from Luke Richards, so yeah, hard ones. You want the ones that are easy to look after, don't you?
Maybe we're just that lazy. Is that what it is?
Maybe lazy. Could be. How many good bonsai have you killed?
Oh, in the early days, plenty. You know, when I started this, when I was like 20 years old, you go to the nursery, get a plant and take it home and start torturing it, you know, cut wherever, jam it into a tiny bonsai pot and no idea what I'm doing. And then, oh, it doesn't look very good. I think it might be dying. Wonder why? I don't know, you know.
You've got it inside the house.
Yeah.
You didn't water it for 2 months.
Yeah. So yeah, when you start out, you perhaps don't know what you're doing horticulturally. Yeah, but so I did a horticulture study at TAFE about 1 million years ago, one of my other lives, and so I'd worked at some nurseries, done some horticulture study really early on. So I think apart from a few initial failures, I don't think the failures lasted for long because I'd actually done some horticulture training.
Background training.
So, and now, I don't think I've had a tree turn up its toes for, I don't remember the last one.
Well, my last video that hasn't been posted yet, I just killed an almond tree.
Yeah.
Loved that tree, had it for 12 years and it's dead. Sad day, but it died.
Did you learn something from it?
No.
Oh.
I don't know why it died. I got no idea. I didn't learn, but having said that, I started bonsai a bit later, so I was 28. So I'd already done a fair bit of gardening at home. So I haven't actually lost many trees because I'd already done a fair bit of background looking after plants at home and pot plants. And I say bonsai is just a version of a pot plant really to look after.
Yeah, absolutely.
So luckily I haven't, but I've had the almond tree, which was really sad last video, and also a Maria orange jessamine. I loved that tree, and I put it in a small pot too early, just like I nearly did with my bottle brush last year, and it died. So sad day.
Okay.
How do you accept a cracked pot during firing? Do you have a good cry, or do you just accept it?
It doesn't happen very often. It does happen occasionally. I think because I've learnt a few tricks of how to get these pots, when they're drying, covered up with bits of plastic bags and things in strategic places so that they all dry evenly, so there's no cracking in drying. And when they're well made, it's pretty rare now that I'll have a firing fault, like a crack in a pot, but it does happen occasionally.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know.
So you've got it down packed now.
It does still happen occasionally. I do still get the odd one.
And if you have one that you really thought was really looking good and it cracks, there's nothing wrong with a cry if you do.
Yeah. So I think my only issue, because I suppose I've got used to it, but the only issue for me, because I'm not just making these for myself, these all need to be bubble wrapped off and sent to whoever's paid money for this.
So it's nearly ready. It's 2 months away now.
Yeah, that's right. Is that phone call or that message where I have to say, yeah, your pot was looking really good, and then it wasn't.
And then it wasn't.
I've got it out of the kiln, and it looks great here, but there's a crack here, and so I'll just have to make another one. So you're just going to have to wait off a few more weeks. But fortunately, that doesn't happen all that often.
Oh, while we're talking about that, how long does it take from when you first make the pot to full firing, like with drying times and all that?
Well, this pot here
and glazed as well.
that I've made for you, it probably takes about maybe a couple of hours to build a pot this size. So roll out a sheet of clay for the base, and then the walls are coiled, so long, sort of snake-like coils of clay all joined together to build up the walls of the pot. So that takes a couple of hours. And then the next day, I flip the pot over and make the feet on the pot. It's probably another half an hour, just tidying things up, putting the feet on. And then it sits there drying for, in warmer weather, maybe a week or two, and in winter, ages, weeks and weeks, for the pot to actually be dry enough to the point where I can get it into the kiln. Because I like them to be pretty well bone dry when they're heading into the kiln. It takes about a day to heat up, another day to cool down again, back down to room temperature. And then for a glazed pot, they're fired twice. So fired once up to 1,000 degrees, and then glaze on, and then back into the kiln and fired to stoneware temperature. So yeah, another sort of day to heat up, a day to cool down again. So a few hours to build, a few days to fire, but yeah, the main sort of waiting is just waiting for it to dry.
A lot of drying time.
Yeah.
And then they obviously take up a lot of space with drying racks and stuff.
Yeah. Well, you've been in my studio before and seen all the things all
nice
piled up, things drying, and some things ready made and ready to bubble wrap up and send.
So you can see the pots, in my opinion, are actually too cheap for all that effort, but there you go. Very, very good pots.
Is it because I'm an Adelaide boy?
Adelaide boy. Adelaide, SA people don't have much money, or they're too tight to let it go out their wallet. Or the moss fall out their wallet when they open it up.
There you go, everybody. My pots are too cheap.
Too cheap. Put up the price, Luke. You're underselling yourself. You just won the national bloody Arboretum pot competition.
Make them all, what, $1,000 each now?
Oh yeah, no. Oh, at least cheap for me.
Okay.
I'm still a South Australian. Okay, this is a really dark question. I sometimes get bonsai burnout, where I just can't even be bothered walking outside to look at my trees, sometimes for a week straight, sometimes for 2 weeks straight. And it's hard to get myself to get back into it. Generally, I watch a few videos and listen to a few podcasts and it gets me keen again. How do you, or if it happens to you, how do you reinvigorate yourself?
I think because I've got my own bonsai tree work and the pottery work, I probably change between the two a bit. So, although I think they tend to sort of support each other. So if I'll be standing out in the garden and I'm looking at one of my own trees, whichever tree needs working on, part of it I'll be thinking about, well, maybe that branch there needs to be moved or whatever, actually aspects of the tree, something that needs doing. But I think as much of me is thinking, oh, that really needs a different pot.
Yep.
I'm designing another pot in my head for that tree. So I think the two kind of support each other. The pottery work, because it's my income now, I suppose I could stop if I wanted to, but I don't.
You can't get burnout. You have to keep going.
That's right. Everybody.
And everyone deserves to buy some of your nice pots, so you can't have burnout.
So, so probably the work on my own trees probably takes a back seat to the pottery work. If I'm busy, if I've got lots of orders and I'm busy, then better head into the studio and make more pots and some fine detailed wiring or carving or something that I was going to do on my own tree. Well, that'll just have to wait.
Yep.
So, but I do have periods where you think, will I wire a tree today or I'll just go for a walk? Yep. But I've been doing it long enough now that it sort of, I suppose I can't imagine being without it. I've had some of these trees for 25 years. It'd be odd to be without it, I think.
I can never imagine not doing it, but sometimes I let the weeds get away and I look at it, go out there to style a tree, look at it, and then I'm like, not today, tomorrow. And sometimes it's hard for me, but that's just me. I'm a lazy man, and sometimes I do get a bit of burnout. Okay, how do you think South Australia is going as a whole bonsai community compared to the eastern states?
Crikey, that's a big one.
It is a big one, yeah.
Well, I guess I get to see a lot of what's happening in the Australian bonsai community because I do a lot of work with the South Australian Bonsai Society. I'm the vice president there at the moment, and I'm trying to encourage people practicing bonsai in South Australia. But also one of my roles is with the selection committee for the National Bonsai Collection at the National Arboretum in Canberra. And so I get to see a lot of what's happening, all across Australia. And it's certainly different. I think probably, if you had to say there's something in South Australia that we could work on, it would be doing what you're doing here with these natives. I don't see quite the level of development with Australian native species in South Australia that I think there is, say, with the Victoria Native Bonsai Society. They're doing great work there. I think we could learn a lot from them. So maybe that's the way forward. Something we could be working on more.
Get away from the traditional.
More Aussie natives and not just olive trees.
Too many olives.
Too many olives.
That's a good answer. I believe, we're doing well, but we've got a long way to go as a community. But there is some people, don't worry, in their backyard with some really nice trees.
I think that's half the battle. I know there's plenty of good bonsai in South Australia. Many of them just hidden away in backyards. They don't all turn up to the annual show or meetings of the South Australian Bonsai Society, but I know they're out there. So there you go. There's a plug for the
seen them in person
for the Bonsai Club. Come on down to the next meeting or workshop of the South Australian Bonsai Society with your best trees. We want to see them.
Okay, I think he aimed a little bit of that at me too. Because I'm not actually a member, but I do plan on doing it. I just got to get off my lazy bum. Okay. Okay, so Luke, I've personally seen your trees and your collection with the really high quality. You're super deep into bonsai, and I just want to thank you for all you do for bonsai.
Thank you.
That's right. And
I'm trying.
And the reason you came out today was to personally deliver this pot, which was kindly donated by an anonymous person overseas who sent Luke some payment, and then he texted me and said what sort of pot for what tree. So he made this one for my gum tree, custom made, the clump gum tree. Yeah, super cool, and super cool of the subscriber or the watcher of the YouTube channel. Yeah, really cool. So thanks very much for dropping it off. It's been a really great day with you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've had a really good time. We had a bit of a walk around the block looking at the reforestation or revegetation.
You've done a lot of work here with all those, what was it, 3,000?
It'll be, yeah, it's
trees?
2,000 now, it'll be 3,000 by the end of next year.
Amazing.
And then the whole property will be pretty much taken up. But yeah, keep doing what you're doing, pushing bonsai in SA, doing a great job. If someone wants to get in contact with you to buy one of these pots, like you said, they'll be jumping at them now. I mean, they are already, to be honest. They're jumping at them already.
Yeah, if anybody wants to take a look at my pottery work, the best way is on Facebook. So my Facebook page is Adelaide Bonsai Pottery. Take a look at the pots there, and yeah, generally all of my pots are made to order. So you can send me a photo of one of your trees if you like, and we can design something like this, or yeah, whatever your
one of these
tree needs.
I really love this pot with that glaze. Beautiful.
Whatever you need, and yeah, and make them and fire them and bubble wrap them up and send them to wherever they need to go. All
corners of the world or Australia?
Yeah, I can deliver anywhere. Deliver across Australia, that's not an issue. I have a number of customers in New Zealand. I've got a few customers in the US and Europe, not many. It's mainly the delivery cost that I think starts to affect it. I could probably send this pot within Australia for delivery cost of sort of $20-30. Probably to New Zealand, that's probably more like $60 or $70 to send it there, and then further than New Zealand, the delivery cost just
skyrockets.
Yeah, it tends to go up a lot. So
but still available. Still can post it.
Yeah, I certainly can do that. Yeah.
Nice. So guys, go on there, check it out. Get in contact with Luke and get a custom-made pot, better than the Chinese generic ones. And then you got an individual custom-made pot, and it's unique. Nothing else will be anything like it. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful pots. So, I think that's all on my little cheat sheet here. I think we're nearly done. I did say his prices are too cheap in my opinion at the end, which I think they are. But, he's got to come up with a compromise between, I guess, people's pocket and producing them. But anyway, doing a really great job.
Thank you.
Buy them while they're cheap.
Get in now.
Get in now. Really. If you're watching this, go and order right now. Anyway, so thanks, Luke. Really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Had a really good time. And the interview went pretty well, I think.
I reckon. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, guys. And we'll catch you next time on Aussie Bonsai Bloke. And check out Luke on his Facebook page. Cheers, guys. Thanks very much. That's it. We're done.
All right.